Live from our super secret studios above Jacques' Flower Shop, this is Girard at Large.
Yeah, baby!
Good morning, Manchester.
Live and local. News, sports, politics, traffic, and weather. Rich isn't afraid to tackle the tough questions.
Who told you you can eat my cookies?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
It's all here on the Girard at Large radio program.
Hello?
On 90.7 WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
I am your host, Rich Girard. Thanks for tuning in.
That's right.
Here's Richard.
Good morning, Manchester, and to those of you in the surrounding towns, this is Girard at Large, and I am your really excited to be here host, Rich Girard. Thanks for tuning in. Our time is 7:06. Our station is 90.7 FM WLMW. You can find us on the web at girardatlarge.com, and you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Also at Girard at Large. I just got a text from a fellow listening to the show. Says, I didn't think anything would put me in a good mood until you said Officer Dan is in the house. Thank you. And joining us now is Manchester Police Officer Dan Doherty. As you know, we ran a little poll here on Girard at Large. We took nominations from our audience, and we asked who you thought should be the Manchester Area Person of the Year. And that person is with us today, Dan Doherty, after some 44,000 votes were cast in our adorable little radio show poll. We were able to determine that Officer Doherty was the winner. And so we would like to say good morning to Officer Dan Doherty right now. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Rich.
How are you?
Very well. How yourself?
Unbelievable. So it is this is the second time that I've had the opportunity to meet you. I first met you at City Hall last Tuesday night, was it?
I think so, yeah.
You were in the gallery for the events of the evening. So, Officer, there are a lot of people out there who want to know more about you. So why don't we start with allowing you to introduce yourself personally, professionally, who you are, where you come from, why you're here, all that fun stuff.
Well, my name is Daniel. Most people call me Dan or Danny, and my mom still calls me little boy Danny. So
yeah, that's it. An Irishman named Danny Boy.
Yeah, shocker. I grew up in Boston.
Now, did you grow up in the city of Boston or one of the surrounding towns?
About 3 minutes from Fenway Park. So that's
there you go.
That's right there.
Kenmore.
Yeah. The good old Boston Red Sox. Looking forward to the spring to watch them.
Yeah.
Can hear them from my parents' backyard.
Really?
That close. But I went to schools in the surrounding area of Boston. I went to private schools, and from there I went to Curry College in Milton, Mass, and where I earned my degree in criminal justice, which led me up to Manchester, New Hampshire.
So now, was it just that there happened to be an opening in the Manchester Police Department that you applied for, or was Manchester just sort of that roaring metropolis you wanted to be in?
Well, as we all know, maybe not everyone knows, but it's pretty hard to get hired as a police officer in Massachusetts, especially in the current times with the veteran status. Rightfully so. They're usually hired before civilians, and they're taking care of the people overseas, which is the right thing. And the next best thing north of Boston, in my opinion, is Manchester. And I went and took the test, and there I am today.
So what did you know of the city of Manchester before you applied to be a police officer here?
Well, I knew it was the largest city north of Boston. I had some family members who were in law enforcement who told me that if you can't get hired down here, go to Manchester. Really? And I took their word, and I went and took the test, and a few months later, I got the call and met with the chief.
So Manchester had a reputation then with law enforcement officers in your family as a good place to be a police officer, or
absolutely
lots of exciting action. You don't want to be twiddling your thumbs at 2:00 in the morning in a parking lot kind of place, or what?
They said you'll have your hands full. you won't ask for any more.
So now, how old are you, Dan?
I'm 26.
You're 26 years old.
Yep.
And you've been your entire time as a police officer here in the Manchester force?
Yes.
Now, what's your status with Manchester? Are you out on disability? I mean, how are you listed with the department?
I'm currently out injured, which will hopefully soon be be done with within the next couple months. I plan on hopefully making a comeback.
So a return to active duty?
Yes.
Now, will they put you right back out on the street, or will you be working in the building, so to speak?
I'm definitely gonna have to get reacclimated, and I'm probably gonna have to learn the new building. So I would appreciate if they put me inside for a little while, because I walk around right now and I have no idea where things are. So
and how is how is your recovery coming?
It's coming along great. Some of the doctors have been taken back by how fast I recovered. And when I say some doctors, I should probably say all the doctors who I've had. Things fell into place for me. I'm grateful for that. The biggest medicine that no doctor can give me is youth. And that's what they tell me, but then I tell them that it was the great care given by them. So we go back and forth.
Patting each other on the back. Yeah, all right. So now, as the host of the show, trying to think of questions that I would like to ask, you go back and forth about, do you want to tread over that ground? Do you want to ask what happened that day? Do you want to how you felt and all of that stuff? And, I won't go anywhere you don't want to go.
Oh, no, please, it's fine.
But take us back to that day. What happened?
No, I'm normally assigned to the midnight shift. I was going to St. Thomas at the end of March, so I was working a swap for a 4 to 12 officer. It was my day to work a double. I worked a midnight shift prior to. I went home, slept during the day shift, come in for the 4 to 12 shift, and I was supposed to go into my normal midnight shift. I woke up after only sleeping for about 6 hours, walking in
exhausted. You get that much, huh?
Oh yeah, that was actually a good day. And I go into roll call, go through the normal routines, and just out driving around, and just around 6 o'clock, maybe a little after, I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do for dinner, and I find my dinner, I get it, I'm bringing it back to the station, and right when I was right at say Elm and Auburn Street, there was a call for assistance over on the west side, and I was at that point just pulling up to Granite Street. So I figured, hey, there's a quick access way through Granite, go over the bridge, and there I am.
So you said now a call for assistance. Was that to help another officer, or was that a citizen call?
It was another officer. He's at a undercover capacity, so they needed some marked units. And I headed over to the west side, and ended up finding the person who they were questioning or wanting to question.
Now, what was the specific call for? Now, did this undercover officer not want to reveal himself, or was there a situation?
Well, there's a lot of issues with undercover officers getting involved in certain scenarios, especially for identity, for just their own safety. And it's always better to confront someone with a patrol car in a uniform, because it clearly represents you as a police officer. And sometimes it's not always clear if there's just a badge hanging off your chest if you're really copping on, which I understand. It's common.
Large time is 7:15. We are in studio with Officer Dan Doherty, our Manchester Area Person of the Year. We're learning a little bit about him, and at the moment we're learning a little bit about that day, that fateful day that brought Dan Doherty to the consciousness of the city of Manchester and well beyond. So, Dan, you get this call, you find the suspect. I'm assuming you pull over.
I see him walking down an alleyway, and he hadn't seen me yet, so I try to be as discreet as possible, and I eventually stop, park my cruiser, get out, and he doesn't know that I've seen him yet, and when I find him, he's standing in between two homes, and eventually I call out to him, and takes off running, and that was the.
Now, were you aware that he was armed at the time?
Well, it was mentioned that he may be armed. It wasn't
wasn't for sure, but you had some idea that he might be.
Yeah, we weren't. The officers who had originally observed him said that he may be armed. What wasn't certain at that point. That we were trying to actually figure it out. That's why the call for service went.
Well,
in.
where you don't know, you act as if he is.
Exactly.
Okay. So he takes off down the alleyway, and you take off.
Yeah, shortly behind him, and it was March 21st. It was 85 degrees that day, I believe. It was one of those very extreme warm early spring days, and everyone was out. It was like a summer day. People were barbecuing. There was kids running around. It was just people everywhere. It was just like the movie. It was just like the movies. You were running through yards, going up and down stairs, and eventually, it was about an arm's reach away from him, and that's when the shooting took place.
Now, in the movies, since you brought it up, we're used to seeing police officers, whether they get uniforms or they're in plain clothes, running with their gun in their right hand down the street, which I understand is not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's a no. You don't. In the movies they make it look good. I'm not sure if I could pull it off make it look good as they can. So you were literally within arm's reach, and he must have had his gun in hand when he turned. Believe it or not, he didn't. Really? It was still in his waistband. He pulled it out of his waistband, and that's when I said, well, better get away from this one. Yeah. And the brakes went on, but the feet kept going. Yeah. So you slid now, and you were able to pull out your gun and return fire. Yeah. Fortunately, you didn't hit the guy. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I said. At that point, it wasn't. It was me just trying to get him away. Because we were so close, and he was advancing on me while shooting. So, at that point, it was the fight or flight. That's what I like to call it. So he was actually coming at you while he was firing. Yep. Yeah. And as soon as I returned fire, he retreated and ran down Granite Street. Yeah, now, I'm assuming you don't even think at that point. You just are reacting. Well, this is your training kicking in. I mean, are you conscious of what's happening at the time? Well, I often talk about this. Is that we're trained to just react and not have to think about it. And they say that muscle memory is a key factor here. And some say muscle memory is not a real thing, and so forth, but I'm a true believer in it because my gun was in my hand. I don't even remember reaching for it. It was a natural reaction, and I will credit all the great training I received with Manchester Police as well as the Academy. Draw large time is 7:19. We are with our Manchester Area Person of the Year. His name is Dan Doherty. He's an officer in the Manchester Police Department. We're going to get to why he was nominated for the honor of being our first ever Manchester Area Person of the Year right after we take this break for traffic, weather, and sports. We want to thank Harris Trophy for supporting this segment. I spoke with John McGranahan, the owner of Harris Trophy. Let him know what you were up to. And a little later on, we have a presentation that we're going to make to Officer Doherty, and we'd like to thank in advance Harris for their contribution to our Manchester Area Person of the Year event here. Symbols of Success, you can learn more by visiting them at their 18 Hanover Street headquarters in downtown Manchester or harristrophy.com. That's harristrophy.com, and be sure to say thanks to them for what they've done to help us honor Officer Doherty. Well, learning that Officer Doherty has a sense of humor, which I suppose, in light of everything that's happened, is probably a good thing. So I think we left it at you. You didn't even realize that you had pulled your gun, but there it was in your hand. Yep. You obviously knew you'd been hit. Yep. What goes through your mind at that point? Well, trial large time is 7:23 with Officer Dan Doherty here, our Manchester Area Person of the Year. We have a caller. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Good morning, Rich. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, sir.
Just wanted to call in and congratulate you.
Oh, thank you very much, sir.
Winning
I
that
appreciate
first honorable person of the year from Rich Girard.
Mayor, I thought you were going to come to the rescue with some Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Know how much you love the coffee we brew here.
Well, Rich, I figured that seeing this is a day that I can get some things done around the house and then go into the office, you're on your own for the coffee.
He's actually the one that tipped me off. That's
Yeah.
why I brought my own.
Yeah, Officer Doherty brought his own Dunkins. He said you just tipped him off.
Well, good. Again,
All right.
congratulations, and look forward to seeing you back on the street.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it, too.
Rich, you
Hey,
have a
Gatzis,
great day.
Thank you for calling.
All right.
It was Manchester Mayor Ted Gatzis. So you obviously know, Dan, that you've been hit. What goes through your mind, and what happened? Are you aware of all that happened after you were hit and brought to the hospital and all that?
Well, some people will argue with me, but I like to think I remembered everything. I'm sure that when I closed my eyes, I don't know if I was sleeping or just wanted to get the sun out of my face.
Right.
From what I recall, I remember everything. Sometimes the body just naturally wants to forget stuff, but I was fortunate enough to remember everything, which definitely helped in the prosecution of it.
So you go through all of that surgery. You're in the hospital for how long?
3.5 weeks.
3.5 weeks. Multiple surgeries, right?
Yep, 7. Yep.
7 surgeries. Any more to go? Any that you still have to have done?
None that are planned. If all keeps going the way it's going, should be in the clear for those. So
Okay. And so how does a police department respond to this? How do they respond to you as the victim? How do they respond as a group, as a body? What did they do after this happened?
Well, it's very emotional for me because the department, and not only the department, I mean the city, but specifically the department. I mean it's one of their own. We all go out there and do this day in and day out. We're not sure when we leave our families if we'll ever see them again. I mean, you just kind of get used to that. And but when one of your own goes down, everyone comes together. It's like every single one of them is actually your brother, family. It's an unbelievable response about how people care so much and want to do anything for you and would rather take your place so you don't have to suffer through what you're going through. And for me, I couldn't have asked for anything better, not only from the police department, but from the city, from the state, the surrounding states. I mean, it was just an unbelievable support group that I had, and I wouldn't change a thing. They were fantastic.
And now you, if I'm not mistaken, at the time, had a girlfriend.
Yep,
Yes,
still have her.
Still have her.
She's still kicking around.
Well, that's good. Well, being the spouse of a policeman is not for the faint of heart. I mean, you have her, you have your parents, you have your immediate family. Yeah. Their instinct obviously is to become even more protective. How does this affect personal relationships and their futures?
Well, Sarah and I, it's definitely brought us closer. I mean, she was there from the very start. From what I recall, she didn't leave the intensive care unit for the 2.5 weeks I was there. She stayed there, she showered there, she ate there. And she was the security guard in my room, I'll tell you that. No one was getting in and out of there without permission.
None shall pass, right.
But she was fantastic, and my family obviously had an interesting time dealing with this. I don't think there is any right or wrong way of dealing with it as far as a family member, but they were strong and they were there for me, and they're pretty special people for having gone through that.
Now, you mentioned that you have other family members that are in law enforcement. What sort of role did they play with the family in general, or in your recovery, or in their interaction with the Manchester police?
Well, there's one I'll talk of specifically. He's a detective for Boston, and he's my cousin, and his partner, one of his very close friends was shot in the line of duty as well, several years ago, and he was brought up to talk to me, and that really kind of hit it home, as far as everything's going to be okay, because he talked to me in very, 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 very grave detail about what's going to happen next, and sure enough, everything happened. But when some of the Boston guys started to come up to see me, the Boston police started to come up to see me, and then some of the other agencies, it was just like it's just me, why is everyone giving me this much attention? And which I get it, it was overwhelming, and it meant a lot.
Now, do you know the person who nominated you?
I do. Well, I know who he is.
I
haven't had the pleasure of meeting him yet, but.
Well, we'd actually hoped to have him here, but he's on his way back from Florida.
Excuse me. Sorry. That's where I wish I was.
Yeah. Don't we all when it's 12 degrees? Yeah. What he said in nominating you was he was doing it not because you were shot, but because of the example you'd set and the inspiration you had been to others in your recovery.
Yep.
And he said something at the sentencing hearing for Myles Webster that caught my attention. And I think it sort of exhibits what Dr. Jeffrey Zarnick, our public safety specialist here on Girard at Large, had to say about you. And that was, and I'm paraphrasing, it's, Myles Webster didn't shoot at me. He shot at my uniform, and I just happened to be in it.
Yep.
What did you... I don't want to ask you what you meant by that, but what did you mean by that?
Well, to be quite frank with you, that if it was me, a Manchester cop, if it was a Florida highway patrolman, Myles Webster was still going to shoot at whatever police officer that was, and the uniform signifies a police officer, and I was the unfortunate soul to be in that police officer, in that uniform, It didn't matter who it was. That uniform was still going to get shot. His mind was already made up.
So you think he intended? I guess he made some statement to the effect of he's not going back to jail, and so he's going to do something that's going to provoke him, probably to get shot on the spot himself. So in your mind, he meant to shoot whatever law enforcement was after him.
Absolutely. It didn't matter if it was Manchester or Boston or state police.
Do you find that more and more people today are willing to do that, or perhaps in other times today they wouldn't have been?
Oh, absolutely. The society has changed. I mean, I'm only a young 26-year-old, but from all the stories and all the war stories from the older police officers, I mean, things have absolutely changed, and people are willing to hurt law enforcement. Especially the younger generations, that even younger than me, people aren't raised like I was. I was raised to respect law enforcement, and we're out there doing a job, and it's just it's not always the best of job at times, but it's a job, and we just learn to respect it.
Why do you suppose there seems to be growing animosity towards law enforcement?
I often ask myself that question, and I don't know. It's a good question. I think some criminologists would have field days with that, because I certainly don't know the answer of it. But I will tell you that the youth of society right now. Some of the things that they say, I can't believe that they even know those words.
Oh yes.
No, not all the youth. I'm just just a few experiences that I can recall.
Josh Chamberlain, who was in the running at the very beginning anyway for our Person of the Year contest, says, "Tell Dan to take good care of the trophy." Although I still question the results of the poll and firmly believe that under further investigation I would make up a few votes that he beat me by, barely. I respect him very much and thank him for his service and would like to personally congratulate him on a closely contested battle.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that.
If you only knew the inside joke running on that one. But so we have... So given the general framework, now, have you become more aware of this negative or growing negative attitude toward police officers since before you became a police officer or since after you became a police officer?
I'd say that naturally you probably think
more
that
aware of it
it's
after
more
the fact.
aware of it, but even before, it's still aware. But now
so why'd you want to be a cop?
Well, it was always that the little gift packages you get for Christmas, like the cowboy or a police officer or a firefighter. Well, my parents always used to give me the police officer one for whatever reason, and I just kind of liked it, but I had some family and law enforcement and just something I always wanted to do. I just like knowing that I can make a difference out there and maybe one day, save someone's life or just make good arrests.
So, and it's not just the general population that seems to be growing in its hostility towards law enforcement. It seems to be others throughout society as well. We'll get to that after we take this break for traffic, weather, and sports. We are also going to have a presentation to make to Officer Doherty, and we'd like to thank John McGranahan, owner of Harris Trophy. When we told him what we were up to, he readily volunteered to help, and so I would like to thank Mr. McGranahan and his business Harris Trophy for their support of this effort. And if you are interested in some truly, we found some really cool stuff there, a way of recognizing somebody or something in your business, your community group, your athletic team, whatever it is, give them a look at Harris Trophy. That's harristrophy.com, or you can visit them live like I did at 18 Hanover Street, which is just east of the corner with Elm. That's 18 Hanover Street, or give them a call at 669-3984. That's 669-3984. Manchester Police Officer Dan Doherty, he is our Manchester Area Person of the Year. He won the poll in which 43,769 votes were cast.
A lot of votes.
That is a lot of votes. And even after we ran the formulas to screen the votes that came, from multiple votes from the same IP address, when a few of them show up in a matter of seconds, you got to screen those out. But even after that, there were still over 22,000 visits to our website as a result of this poll, individual visits to our website as a result of this poll. And close contest between yourself and Amanda Bolden, the foundress of Shire Sharing. She does a lot to help, the hungry, the homeless, etc. in the area. There were some comments made by an elected official here in the city of Manchester, which caused the union that represents you to take some unusual steps, shall we say. They sent a letter. Various people showed up at a public hearing, including yourself.
Yep.
And I was struck by that. And the first thing that you said when you started talking was that nobody asked you to be there.
Yep.
And that what you had to say, was all personal and it came from the heart. Why were you there, and why did you feel it necessary, Dan, to, state up front that nobody asked nobody asked me to come?
Well, I didn't want people to go into the assumption that the union or someone from the police department asked me to speak. It
was trotting out its wounded warrior, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah. And I may be a poster child now, but that's not a label that I look at myself as. And I definitely would have still spoke whether or not my incident happened or not. I still would have said something. I took that to the heart and I took it personally, and I spoke my piece and an apology was given and I'm happy with that.
Joining us on the phone now is Dr. Jeffrey Zarnick, retired Manchester police officer, our public safety expert. You can hear him every Thursday morning at 7:40. And he is also the nominator of Dan Doherty. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Morning, Dan. Thank you, Rich, and everybody there.
Good morning, Doctor.
And I must have missed something while I'm down here in Florida. What happened at City Hall?
Uh-oh.
Oh, that was the Levasseur incident.
Oh, that one. Oh, yes. Right.
Yes.
Sometimes you like to think things go away, but I guess not.
Well, Alderman Levasseur did, in fact, apologize for his comments. But Jeff, You're calling this morning. You nominated Officer Doherty, and in doing so, you said it wasn't because he got shot, but because of how he inspired others during his recovery. Do you want to elaborate on that at all, or do you have some words for Officer Doherty?
Well, as a retired police officer, I think just as a man in general, just to see how he recuperated well, just that I think he emulates everything that any public servant would want to be. Someone has said, I want to get right back out there and help people. I mean, it's pretty much, I can't make it really any plainer than that. There's no, self-pity, or no anger. He raised no anger, even towards the shooter, etc. The way he carried himself throughout the whole time, during the time of the trial, during the time of the sealing, all that. It was just a remarkable thing that any one person could do, whether they're a police officer, a firefighter, or anyone else involved in the public service trade. Because that doesn't necessarily always happen. He doesn't appear to be bitter or any of those things, Rich. So I just think it's just absolutely remarkable from head to toe, and that's what probably struck me the most, especially when I had the opportunity and the honor to meet him for the first time. Just carrying himself with a great sense of humor and all those things. I wonder if I would have reacted the same way too. You know what I mean? So I think it's all those things wrapped up in one. I couldn't really say it's one thing, but just absolutely remarkable.
Jeff, and thank you for that. Are you surprised at all by the firestorm that this adorable little radio show poll kicked off?
No, Rich, this is the greatest show on the East Coast, so let me get that out of the way first, okay? No, in a way, yeah, the numbers are absolutely eye-popping. Because it really touched, I think it hit a nerve in the community. It really, what it really did is I think it surprised a lot of people that people, do listen, people really, really care, and I think it speaks well to the city of Manchester itself that people really, stood up, took notice, and said, hey, I want to be heard about two people that, either contribute one way or another, but both of them, have something on the plate, something on the agenda. They represent a lot of things to a lot of people. So it did surprise me in some respects with the numbers, but then again, maybe it shouldn't, right? Maybe it shouldn't. All right, so you're on your way back home today? We actually, we heard yesterday before the Patriots got the snot beat out of them that the weather was going to be really, really bad. So I took the lead and I changed the flight till tomorrow. And I don't know if it's going to be worse tomorrow or not, but actually tomorrow. All right. Well, don't worry. We won't tell anyone one more day in Florida. Anyone where you live. What's that? we won't want them to meet your Rottweilers at the door. Rottweilers? I don't own any of those, thank you. All right, Dr. Jeffrey Zarnick, our public safety specialist, heard every Thursday morning here at Girard at Large at 7:40. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you, Doctor.
Not a problem. Thanks, Rich. Thanks for having me. Bye, Dad.
All right, that was Jeff Zarnick. If you have any calls or questions for Officer Doherty, you're welcome to give us a ring at 672-0573. That's 672-0573. So, Dan, it did really reach a lot of people, this poll, and how do you feel about that? I mean, just the whole situation that came in, and obviously a tremendous outpouring of support. How do you feel about the whole situation?
Well, yeah, I think Dr. Zarnick hit the nail on the head in saying that it speaks volume about the citizens of Manchester and how passionate they are. I'm not as articulate as Dr. Zarnick by any stretch of imagination.
Yeah, neither am I. So
and I think that statement right there pretty much sums up how I feel about that, because I came from a very close community back home, and Manchester is similar in so many ways, and especially at how tight knit the community is. and I found out. Unfortunately, I had to find out in such a hard way, but I'm glad I did, because the community came together in so many different ways. The support, and then just to put the icing on the cake, to vote for me was it was a personal touch, and I thank all the voters, but it was a very, very emotional roller coaster, and it's kind of a hey, Dan, we're still here, we're still thinking of you, so I like that.
Dr. Zarnick made some astute observations. You don't appear bitter. You seem to be a very humble guy. You can't wait to get back out there and serve. You seem very grateful for all that's happened since you were shot. How are you grounded this way? I mean, were you raised in a household of faith? I mean, where do you draw this from? Well, I think a lot of people would have a very different reaction. I think there would be a lot of why me, and some anger and some bitterness, and you've probably experienced some of that, but you aren't expressing it. You don't seem to me to be masking any sort of deep-seated anger or resentment or anything even on the surface. How do you come to this place where you're this person? Well, many people have asked me, are you a man of faith? And I mean, I grew up Catholic. I was brought up Catholic. I went to Catholic grammar school, high school, and I'm sure a little bit had to do with that, but my mother would probably not be so happy that I don't attend church as often as I probably should. What mother is. Yes. But I think how I handle this situation was, I always think of I'm breathing. One, I'm still here. I'm still walking under my own power. If I have any long-term issues as a result of the shooting, they're very minor. Someone recently in my family was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer, and is having a very tough time with it. And the life to him right now could be labeled as a period of time where he'd still be with us, and he's having a much worse day than I am today. I think of this, like the saying, there's always someone stronger than you or someone better than you. Oh, you get what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Excuse me. Excuse me. And I just think of, for instance, like tomorrow I'll be going to visit the CHAD unit up at Dartmouth Hospital. It's the Children's Hospital. And, I've been up there several times, and when I see all these sick children, I think to myself, if I ever think I'm having a bad day, I'm going to think of this, because, this is a bad day. These children are having a terrible stay, and they're sick. And, I just felt that what happened to me was an unfortunate incident, but at the same time, there's always someone that's not is a lot worse off. Now, obviously, you have some physical scars from the surgeries and the shooting and all that. Mentally, how are you? Emotionally, how are you coping with all of this? Well, I mean, like a lot of people ask me, am I mad? Am I upset? I mean, yeah, I'm mad and upset that it happened, but I'm still here, so I can't be too upset about it. And it's done, and you're focusing on your recovery. Exactly. I mean, I just want to be back to where I was. I want to be playing hockey again. I want to be back to work. And I'm more focused on that. I knew that the judicial system would work, and it did. I'm happy enough with that. If that didn't work out, maybe then I'd have some anger and some so a little bit more of a mental issue. But I mean, I don't have
any hard feelings. I want to get on with my life and just put this behind me. The speed bumps in life, and this was a rather large speed bump, but I feel I'm on the backside coming off the speed bump. So,
well, and it's interesting that you put it that way. For our listeners, I went to Harris Trophy and spoke with the owner, John McGranahan, and he helped me pick out something I thought would, I think, properly commemorate the this award. And I put a whole lot more thought into this than I even did in putting up the poll, to be perfectly honest with you, because I didn't want it just to be another plaque. I wanted it to stand for something. And Mr. McGranahan gave me this clock, and it's for our audience. It's probably at about a 60-degree angle, and opposite the clock, which is a black face with gold hands, Roman numerals. It's very simply says, you want to read it, Dan?
It says, Officer Daniel Doherty, our 2012 Manchester Area Person of the Year. And then it has the great logo, Girard at large, at the bottom.
The great logo.
The great
I like
logo.
Yeah. Well, I took his suggestion on the clock because it occurred to me that you almost went before your time.
Absolutely.
And you have a tremendous future, which you seem entirely focused on living.
And anxious
to get out there and live. And so now I was looking at that thing. I'm sure you'll figure out where to put the batteries when it needs to go. But right now I can tell you it's ticking. Just to show you how handy I am. But from all of us here at Girard at Large, for the audience that came out to support you, whether they're listeners of the show or one of the many who found out about your nomination here and came to support it. We hope that clock turns many, many, many times in the life of Dan Doherty, and that it witnesses many great achievements and a life that recognized the great second opportunity it was given on March 21st, 2012.
Yep. Rich, you pretty much just summed up my feelings in a nutshell there, and I haven't exactly been able to put words to it, but I think you hit the nail on the head, and that means a lot, and I understand the relation now to that, and I also hope this goes around many, many, many times in my life. So I get that, and that's special. Thank you. Thank you.
We will look forward to counting the years, Dan, as you go back to work soon here in the city of Manchester on behalf of of our show, on behalf of our audience, on behalf of our city and region. We appreciate what you do out there. We appreciate what all of your brothers in blue do out there. It's not an easy job. I don't think too many of us would want to do it, and we appreciate those who do.
And if I could just add one thing, I'd also like to thank the citizens of Manchester and New Hampshire. The support was unbelievable, and all the cards and gifts that you've given to me were greatly appreciated. And if I'm ever having a bad day, I do go back and read some of those cards, and they bring me back where I need to be. So thank you very much.
Manchester Officer Dan Doherty, our Manchester Area Person of the Year. Thank you for spending this past hour with us here on Girard at Large. And in the words of my favorite Vulcan, live long.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
David, how are the roads?
Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Officer Doherty.
Girard at Large.
Yeah, baby.
Good morning, Manchester.
Live and local. News, sports, politics, traffic, and weather. Rich isn't afraid to tackle the tough questions.
Who told you you can eat my cookies?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
It's all here on the Girard at Large radio program.
Hello?
On 90.7 WLMW, New Hampshire Family Radio.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
I am your host, Rich Girard. Thanks for tuning in.